swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast. Happy to be part of the Blue Wire Network. It is episode number 332, CubsCon 2026, the reunion. And of course, you're listening to the Fly the W podcast. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow us on the socials. I'm at Mullion on X.
And you can follow me at Crawly's Cub on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok, and Crawly's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. And if you are watching us right now on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, click that, liking that bell, all that fun stuff.
Now, if anybody has been a listener to this podcast or follows you on social media, Crawly, to get things going, I know this is one of your favorite weekends of the year. Outside of, I guess, opening day, which I'm going to let you speak in a minute, of course, I'm guessing is your favorite day of the year. You know, where does this rank in your hierarchy or your fandom of, you know, things that you just can't wait to get to on your Cubs calendar? Because it's, you know, it's not that there's a year calendar, right? January 1st, the year starts, but there's a Cubs calendar. And I guess if it's inside of the new year, this is kind of like event number one of Cubs 2026.
Yeah, this is the beginning. This is where it all gets rolling. And to me, this is like my Mardi Gras, Super Bowl, and Christmas all rolled into one.
Wow.
There truly is, for me, nothing better than Cubs convention. Absolutely just love it. And
how many in a row is this?
This is at least, since I was in college, at least 26, 27.
26 or 27 Cubs cons in a row. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't miss.
You don't miss. Yeah. Awesome. Good for you, Crawly. All right. So let's get into it. You know, what can people who are going or who aren't able to go, who might go in the future, how can they enjoy it? You know, there's lots of things going on. There are things that kind of cross over, right? There are more than one thing happening at once. So, you know, kind of like when you go to Disney World, Crawly, you need a guide, right? You need to know how to make the most of your time, because time is not going to stop because you're a rookie.
Right. And so the one thing I would recommend everybody goes and does right away is get the app. That's about as basic. This is brand new. Used to be like a program, right? You used to get a program, but now it's an app. You can get it at the App Store. Plan your day. And my recommendation is kind of figure out what you're really there to do. Would you like to listen to question and answer sessions? Are you there with the kids? Are you there to get autographs? What do you want to do? And it can be really overwhelming if this is your first time going to CubsCon. So I would say maybe kind of test a little bit of everything and don't try to do everything. If you do that, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to get overstimulated. You're going to get overwhelmed because there's a lot going on. You will. And so I get there, you know, when I first get there, I usually kind of try to walk around and take a look at some of the decorations that they have. So like, you know, they have decorations everywhere and they got the windows all done up. And so that's kind of cool. And if you go to the way that the Sheraton works is kind of weird. They consider the basement to be like the first floor. Okay. So that might be confusing to some people if you don't know. The first floor on day one, on Friday, that's where you're going to get your badges, everything that you're going to get. So that's this line right here. You go up to the line, and this is also the autograph line the next day. So there's two lines, one for general public and one for season ticket holders, and you get a lanyard and you get a bag with all sorts of goodies. And so once you get that, then it's kind of fun to kind of walk around and check some things out, especially on the second floor. They're going to have like the minor league teams, all that stuff. This is actually on the first floor. It's the minor league teams. But they have all sorts of cool displays on the second floor. So check it out. And it usually is a good time when you end up there. Now, for the registration, I think it's over. People overdo it. It opens right away from noon to 8 o'clock and people just go crazy, but you can go in at 2 or 3 and there's like no line, right?
Gotcha.
Like if you want to be the first person in line, so be it. And that's that. But that's it. Now, one of the things that people like to do is the Cubs authentic auctions. Okay. If you're somebody that's into game used jerseys, game used helmets, that kind of stuff, there is an auction that starts at $215. All I'm going to tell you is you are going to spend a pretty penny. You got some big dogs in there that are going to kind of trying to be outbidding you. So I would just recommend everybody it's fun to check out. I've checked it out a few times. Little too rich for my blood.
Wow. Well, that's saying something. I mean, you love some Cubs memorabilia. Like, give us an example. Like, what kind of items are we talking here?
Helmets, jerseys, bases,
all game used at Wrigley, used by current and former players.
Yeah. And so mostly current players, like anything from PCA to Swanson to Kyle Tucker, anything.
And are these also necessarily autographed, or this is just a used item that is not? So it's not autographed.
Not autographed. It's
not
game used.
Okay, just game used. Okay. So give us an example, like a PCA game used jersey, not autographed. Is it laundered?
It is laundered. It depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. A lot of times it goes through the authentication system. So there's a little, so they just give it to the guy who's MLB authenticated. He puts a sticker on it and then it goes into the computer.
Okay.
And so it's really cool. But the one thing I tell people is with the autographs, there's autographs every single day, Friday, Saturday, it's Sunday. There's a special autograph sessions at the Lowe's Hotel for season ticket holders. And there are some autographs that are just for kids only. PCA, for example, is not signing for adults. He's only signing for kids.
Cool.
So
that's really cool. Good for him. That's good. Good for the Cubs to approach him with that. And that's good.
I would just tell you, if you're really thinking about getting one of the big guys, it's really hard. It's a long lines to wait in. The best bet is the meet and greet, but even that's long lines and that's expensive. A meet and greet, you can get it on Friday, but people start lining up Thursday, but it's $300. You can get 2 things autographed and a photo with the player, but there's very limited spots, but all of that goes to Cubs charities.
Cubs charities. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
So what will then happen on Friday night is opening ceremonies. Okay. And so usually they open the doors around 5:30 on that, and you get in and you check it out. And it really is cool. They do such a good job with the sound and the lighting if you haven't been there. But opening ceremonies are going to start at 6 o'clock. Friend of the pod, Cole Wright, is going to be there, and he always brings the energy. And the cool thing about it is that they start to call all the players out one at a time, and the kids go in front and they get the high fives from the players. It's a really cool experience that if you haven't seen it, it's wild. So the way that it works, Waye Messmer will sing the national anthem. You're going to have Tom Ricketts give a state of the team. And Dustin, this is where they're going to announce the Cubs Hall of Fame 2026 class. I think we know who it is. So I'm pretty confident on that you're going to see John Lester and Ben Zobrist as the 2026
the new
Cubs
inductees. Okay. All right. Very cool.
That's my belief. I can't see it being any other way. I don't know who it'd be. I think
no veteran in this one.
I don't believe so, but you never know.
So a two-member class right now, as far as you.
It could be 3 if they include like old broadcasters or people from the past.
Okay. All right. Very good.
So, all right. I got Frank Walker. He says, "Hey, Crawly, always good to talk to Frank. I'll see him. He does a great job at Wrigley." And then Keith Mock, "I got your bobblehead. Don't worry, buddy. You're going to be good." But people are super excited. They're in the comments. The after opening ceremonies, that's when they do it. They go with the broadcasters first, then they call out the alum, then they have some minor leaguers, and then they do the current team, and they finish with the Cubs Hall of Famers, which is a lot of fun to see people, just get excited to see those guys. After that is over, Ryan Dempster will do his Off the Mound, which is a great kind of like Jimmy Fallon type Tonight Show type thing. Yeah. He always has the best guests. It's a lot of fun. This is a picture from last year with PCA with his kind of fancy duds. But it's a hilarious show. There's a lot of great memories. That's where Chris Bryant did the infamous St. Louis is boring, which St. Louis never forgot, but who cares anyway? It is boring. And so
that's all right once or twice.
Yeah, I'm good.
But you've been there, so you know.
I've been there. I've been to Busch Stadium. It's a nice stadium. It's fine. Yeah. Whatever. Now, once all of that is done, when that ends, then you can go join Harry Karaoke, emceed by our guy Jeremiah Paprocki. You may even see me sing a song or two. I've been known to join in, and from there, that's where the party really continues.
And now this continues at the hotel, right? This is
all the hotel. You never leave the hotel.
Lobby bar, all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So we're all going to be there hanging out. Now, bright and early, there's going to be autographs first thing in the morning. Some people wait Thursday night to get in the autograph lines or Friday night to get in the autograph line Saturday morning. But if you're when
they get in these lines, Crawly, when they get in these lines, do they know is it like, it's going to be somebody of high stature, or you
have a general idea? Yes, you have.
But you don't know. You do not know exactly. Like, you don't know that you're in the Michael Bush autograph line, as an example.
You will know. It'll tell you which one to go into. People will know.
Okay, so you will know. It's not like you're not rolling the dice.
No, you're not rolling the dice.
Okay.
Our next guest coming up, Boog Sciambi, is the host for the first four, and it starts at 9 a.m. The baseball ops, and 10 a.m. Boog is going to interview Craig Counsell. That's where you get to ask the questions. Make sure you're prepared. You know what you're going to be asking. Here's Boog right here, and these guys. And so it's an opportunity to ask a question, but think about what you're going to ask. Make sure it's just not lame. Like, why won't you spend money? Like, I can tell you how they're going to answer that question, and everybody wants me to ask it. And they're going to say they spend money, they'll give you the payroll numbers, blah, blah, blah. You can argue all day long, but I just recommend trying to come up with a pretty good question, because that's the tricky part of it, is coming up with a good question that you'll get a good answer out of. So that's 9 a.m. and Craig at 10 a.m. Boog will warm them up, and then he'll toss the questions to the crowd. I guess we should be, I don't know. Ian Happ is going to be doing the Compound podcast, his podcast right there. We know all about his podcast, but he is going to have Anthony Rizzo there. Right, Anthony Rizzo will be his guest.
He's the guest. Okay, that's cool.
He's one of the guests. He has multiple guests, and I'm looking at the app right now, and I don't see any other guests announced. So that'll be fun. He always has good guests. Then the pitchers are going to be speaking, and the pitchers that are going to be speaking: Matt Boyd, Cade Horton, Jameson Taillon, Colin Ray, and newcomer Edward Cabrera.
Very cool. So, and just a little programming note: Cubs pitching coach Tommy Hotovy will be on with Mully and Haw Friday in studio at 9 a.m. So a little warm up to CubsCon on Friday with Tommy Hotovy.
Always good hearing from Tommy. Now, what surprises me, Dustin, though, next is that the next session is going to be that reunion we've been talking about, which is probably going to be one of the most exciting sessions of the day. It's going to be hosted by Ron Coomer, who will also be joining you this week.
That's right. Tomorrow, 8:25, Thursday, 8:25.
It will feature Anthony Rizzo, Pedro Strop, Miguel Montero, Ben Zobrist, and Justin Grimm. So those are going to be the guys on that panel. So that's going to be exciting. After that, we have the Cubs hitters session. I know they updated it because I checked before we came. That's Coomer as well. Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Miguel Amaya, and how about one Alex Bregman?
Nice. He looked good. Did you see him in the Blackhawks sweater the other night, Crawly?
Oh, yeah. I saw him. He looks good.
He looked good.
Now, at 4:30, Tom Ricketts will buy you a beer at Shula's Steakhouse, which is right where you walk in. But at the same time, will also be one of the big sessions of the day. That is going to be remembering Rhino. For a lot of us, the last time we saw Rhino was at Cubs Convention. Here's a picture I took of Ryan Sandberg. And so that is going to be some of his closest teammates are going to be doing that. That is going to be Rick Sutcliffe, Shawan Dunston, Bobby Dernier, Jody Davis, and Andre Dawson. So obviously those are some of his closest friends. And so, it's going to be tough, Dustin. That one's going to be a tough one. So I think that's kind of why they put it at the end, as opposed to like trying to do anything after that. Cause I think the mood's going to be a little bit down after that. It'll be cheerful, but sad.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in cheering your mood up later at 7:45, our guest later, Waye Messmer, will be doing CubsCon Bingo, which, as you know, my favorite of all. You get a table with all your friends, you hunker on down, you have some food, you have some drinks, you get your bingo card, CUBS logo, and then the night again ends with Harry karaoke. So on Sunday, they're going to have some autographs, not a lot, but they will have some. So that'll be something that'll be hopefully everybody enjoys. And when I take a look here at this, the one thing I'm going to say is Ed Hardig has a lot of cool sessions. And this year they're going to have the 150th anniversary of the Chicago Cubs organization. So he's going to be doing a couple of those, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope this helps out, and we'll answer some more questions before segment 3, Dustin, but I think it's time to get to segment 2.
Let's move forward to the second segment of the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. We are happy to be part of that. We just captivated everybody about what's going on at Cubs convention, and Crawly is a master of that. And again, don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star reviews will take them. You can email us, Crawly's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget to watch us. Some of you are right now on the Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube page, and it is our honor to welcome in the play-by-play voice of your Chicago Cubs, Jon Boog Sciambi. John, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Excellent. Thank
John,
you.
you know I'm excited. It's CubsCon. I can barely keep myself contained right now. But before we get into CubsCon, tell us a little bit. I mean, nobody sees more games than you from a special standpoint. Give us your assessment of the 2025 Cubs. What impressed you most last season about the Cubs?
I mean, what impressed me the most, I mean, I thought that they had a vibe that none of the previous 4 teams that I had broadcasted for had. And that was just that they were, most days when they went out on the field, they were better than the other team, and they showed it. And 92 wins, Wrigley's always special, but when you're delivering a team that's that good, it makes the place even better. And so, I think that it's one of the most special home environments in all of, major sport. And we're really lucky. And when the team is good, like game 4 in the playoffs was, as we get, I think, farther removed from that, maybe we won't remember, but like the atmosphere for that game was pretty spectacular. And again, you're talking about a division series game 4 and a series that ultimately we lost. But man, it was a lot of fun going to the ballpark.
Yeah, it was actually a very special season. A lot of debate on Sports Talk Radio whether or not was a success or not. I lean that it was a success, and part of that success, of course, is Craig Counsell, and you've got the panel with Craig on Saturday, part of CubsCon. Craig not only has a tough job as a manager, Boog, but he does a whole lot of talking, right? He talks before the game. Sometimes he talks to you guys in the game, and then, of course, he talks to the media after the game. So what's it like getting to know him off the field a little bit, talking to him before the game, during the game, after the game? What's the relationship like? And sometimes everybody wonders about how each one of us does our job sometimes. But how does that work? How is the relationship? How do you craft that relationship, both professional and friendly, with somebody like Craig Counsell? Because you've had an opportunity to do this with a couple different managers over the years.
Yeah, I mean, Craig's somebody I've known, forever. He's, he was a rookie on the 97 Marlins, and I was a broadcaster for that team. So I've known him for almost 30 years and have had a pretty connected relationship with him. On a day in, day out basis, I think that he handles the media stuff well. He's smart. He's insightful. I think he does a good job of explaining why decisions are made. I think at times he can be cranky with people when he just gets a little tired of of stuff, but I think, he could probably have more patience from time to time in that regard. But I would say overall, I think he does a really good job of explaining the modern game. This, if you're coming to the ballpark expecting your starter to go 7 innings and you're wondering why is he coming out after X amount of pitches and X amount of innings, it's like, God, man, like, have you been watching the last 5 years? This sport is different now. And I think he does a good job explaining the perspective as to why he makes the moves that he makes.
Not only are you going to be interviewing Craig, you're going to be interviewing Jed and Carter. I got the first question ready as always, Boog, but what grade would you give the Cubs front office for the off season so far?
I mean, it's got to be in kind of the A range, doesn't it? I mean, if you were looking for a bat, you got a big time bat, and you were looking for a front end starter. That's pretty darn good. So I'm not much into giving out grades, but if you make me, I would say it's got to be in the A range. And again, that doesn't guarantee anything. I will say this: I do think that with the moves that they've made, I think that, you add Bregman and Bregman's defense is very good. He'll hit. But when you have a good defensive team, which the Cubs do, the floor is high. So even with injuries and, certain disasters, I mean, think about last year for a second from this perspective. If the only 2 pieces of information I gave you about last year were these 2 pieces of information, Shota Imanaga is going to hurt his hamstring in early May, and he's going to miss 7 weeks, and Justin Steele is going to blow out and undergo Tommy John surgery. And then I said to you, how many wins you got for this team?
Great point. Excellent point, right?
It would not be 92.
It would not be 92. You'd probably be lucky if it was 72.
Yeah.
Right. It might be 69. Right. So it's a great way to look at it. And that's kind of the secret sauce, if you will, I believe, of Craig Counsell. So let's go back to Bregman for a second, because I deemed Saturday night, and unfortunately Les Grobstein is no longer with us because I would quiz him about this. I said Saturday night was probably the single biggest Saturday night in the history, Boog, of Chicago sports. So just as a sports fan, I'm assuming you are. Yeah. I'm guessing you were consuming Bears-Packers. Yeah. So, I mean, what was your reaction to, I'm guessing you heard about it on social media like most of us did, or maybe you got a phone call or something. But, I mean, what was your reaction, and where were you, if we can ask? I'm asking, I guess you don't have to answer. Where were you when you found out Bregman was coming to the north side in the middle of the Bears getting their rear ends kicked by the Packers?
Yeah. I was at home, and, those 2 things intersecting in terms of official word that Bregman was coming to the Cubs and then the Bears comeback, it was pretty incredible. And I loved seeing just some of the social media posts from people just showing how excited everybody was. I can't imagine, those are 2 interesting events, right? And you're talking about a Bears team that hasn't, won a game of that magnitude, especially, in that way in forever. And then the Cubs adding a player the caliber of Alex Bregman. It was pretty special.
And then, oh, by the way, just throw in that the Bulls and Hawks also both won, which also doesn't happen very often with our winter sports teams both winning on the same night. Thank you for indulging me on how you heard it, because it was, oh my gosh. And then, like you said on social media, like the timeline, Bears getting their rear ends kicked.
Yep.
Bregman signs, Bears come back and win the game.
Now, Boog, here's the thing is that there's a lot of people, there's a little bit of concern, and this is our guy, Mike Prasnowski. He gave the front office a solid a B, give Nico an extension, and it'll be up to an A. Obviously, the concern right now is, you got Nico Horner, you got Matt Shaw. Do you see the Cubs there's a lot of talk, but I mean, the Cubs are going to listen. That's nothing wrong with listening. But do you think that the Cubs kind of keep both Shaw and Horner, or do you think that a trade is a strong possibility?
I think a trade is a possibility. I don't think they're going to trade Nico. That would be my guess. Again, I think again, this is where this business is cold, man. This has nothing to do with whether they like Nico or don't like Nico. It's that he has value and teams are interested. I think that if you were going to have done this, to maximize it, last year is when you should have done it. I'm not advocating for such, but look, the reason why it's talked about is Nico has value and they have a cheaper alternative to plug into his place. Obviously, to expect him to be as good is ridiculous. But that's why, is that you have a ready-made alternative. I would say that you would have gotten more, you would get more for Nico Horner if he had 2 years controllable, which would have been trading him prior to 2025. He's a bit of a unicorn in today's world where you just, so many guys strike out so much. I don't know how you quantify the intangibles. I know that he's loved in that clubhouse. I know he is a guy that is a favorite of the manager. And, if they were to keep a stat of how many times a guy was on the ground during a game, Nico would be, at the top of the leaderboard. And it's hard because I'll also say this, man, you get to do what I do and you interact with different players. That guy's one of my favorites, man. I don't know. I mean, who doesn't like Nico Horner? As a player, but also as a human, he's fun and interesting and thoughtful. He doesn't always give you his honest. I thought one of my most favorite moments from him last year was, he started off in such a home run drought. And Elise Menaker in Houston asked him after he had homered, "Do you think about homers?" And he just blurted out, "Oh, God, yes. Oh, God, yes." He goes, it's hard to be a really valuable player in this league and not hit for power. And that's totally true. And the idea that he is aware of it, doesn't really want to talk about it that much. But I love the guy. So look, they're not going to trade him just to trade him. If for some reason they end up trading Nico Horner, the first thing that I would tell you is you won't like it. But if they make the move to trade for Nico Horner, they're going to get something back that they deem to be as valuable, if not more valuable. That's the thing I know there's emotion attached to it, but that's the thing, the first place you have to go. If they are to trade for him, they are going to feel really strongly that they are getting something back that they could not pass up. That said, I don't think they will do it. I hope they don't do it.
Now, Boog, this is going to be your fourth convention. Obviously, we were all excited to be back in 2023. In 2025, you had the return of Sammy Sosa, and unfortunately, it was the last CubsCon for a baseball legend, and especially a Cubs legend, Ryne Sandberg. You've gotten to see some great moments, and now we're going to have the 2016 reunion. What would you say to someone who's a Cubs fan but never been to CubsCon? For someone like you, what was the experience like at your first CubsCon, and what would you tell people who have never been?
I think people are going to be bananas with the guys from 16 walking around that place. There's not a way. I said this the other day. It's like the old MTV line, you think you know, but you don't really know. It's people, Len Casper would tell me all about it, and I thought I had a vague idea, but it's just a ton of people who are just super excited about this team. And there's this, this feeling, this buzz, this palpable feeling. People are excited. If you're a Cubs fan and you're contemplating it, I would highly advocate. It's the perfect time too, because it's cold. You're far away enough from baseball, and last season you're like right in the middle, and it'll get you juiced up. But there aren't too many fan bases that could pull off a convention the way CubsCon is. I don't know that there are any, if I'm being honest.
You mentioned the cold, and it is historically always the coldest weekend for CubsCon, which is just so. I mean, it's snowing here, Boog. It's gonna, the temperatures plummeting, and you have called a lot of cold games at Wrigley as well, and you know what that is like. But there is a story when you actually bumped into Harry Carey one of your first years broadcasting at Wrigley Field when it was really cold. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was my first road game, I think. I still believe it was a Marlins Cubs game. I believe it was, I think that at least feels like in the 20s. I think it was the coldest on record first pitch, or at least at the time it was 1997. I had finished doing the pregame show, and I had to come back and do the lineups, but I had to go to the bathroom really badly. So I ran to the bathroom. I went to the, 2 urinals, 1 stall. I went in there. I was washing my hands. As I was washing my hands, Harry walks in. I hadn't met him. Harry walks in. So it's early April, and it is cold, man. And as I'm drying my hands from the stall, I just hear this voice say out loud, "I got so many damn clothes on, I can't find my." And I was like drying my hands, and I was like, what just happened? And then I just ran out of the restroom and went back to the booth so I could tell, all my guys with the Marlins about what had just happened.
That is a classic story. That is classic, Harry. If we're talking broadcasting for a second, I'm curious if you got to hear what Rob Manfred had said on WFAN about potentially getting rid of the American and National League and going with an East and a West. As it stands now, we've got interleague play from opening day almost to the very end of the season. That's a whole nother debate on that. But one of the things that I don't think everybody realizes, and sometimes you hear broadcasters complain, players complain, but the travel is a real thing. There is a grind to a series, even when it's at home. The game ends late, you come back for a day game, then you get on an airplane. And again, you're flying in nice airplanes and you're staying in really nice hotels. But, from that aspect of it, from the travel aspect, and I know you love this game, could you get behind that? Does that make sense to you? Or are you totally against that idea and you want to keep it AL, NL? Because, of all the sports, there's numbers, right? But baseball's numbers are different than every other sports by a landslide.
So, look, what I would say is, the distinction between the leagues or in other sports, the conferences, again, baseball is different. It's just been doing it longer. And I think that, the American League and the National League resonate more than conferences do in the NBA, the NFL, or the NHL. I would tell you this. I love this sport, and what I would encourage most people to, I am open to any idea that is going to improve the consumption of this game. So I am not going to hold on to anything because it has to stay this way. I am fine with them contemplating cutting the schedule to 140 games. What will they do with the statistics? It'll be fine. It will be fine. We'll still, like it used to be 154, and then it became 162, and everybody is still alive. So it's one of these things where I guess my answer is I'm not saying immediately no to anything that might improve baseball's standing in terms of eyeballs, interest, and how much fans want it. I mean, you could say, look, if you polled all the fans out there and 98% of them said, I don't care whether they get rid of the American League and the National League, then what am I sitting there wrestling on it for? So at a certain point, I want whatever is best for the growth of this game and this sport going forward. That's my biggest thing. I'm not holding on to much of anything that's like it has to stay this way because it's always been this way.
One more really quick before Crawly. I want to one more broadcasting thing. And in the landscape of the national broadcast changed a little bit this offseason coming up. So Sunday Night Baseball on TV has moved over from the 4-letter network, and they're moving over to NBC. So Sunday Night Baseball will be on NBC. If I've got it right, Boog, ESPN Radio will still be doing Sunday Night Baseball on the radio, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And are you still involved in that?
I will still be doing some of that.
Okay. So how is that, like, juggling that? Juggling, you've got a big market job with the Cubs. That's your number one thing. That's where we hear and see you the most. But obviously it's got to be a thrill going to these marquee locations where there's a lot of eyes and ears, in this case, because it's on radio, on you. So what is that? What's it balancing? Kind of going back a little bit to the question I asked about all that travel.
Yeah, I mean, the travel is a lot, but it's part of the gig. I don't have to do it for free, and I'm and I'm grateful. I love that I get a chance to see other teams. I did the Marlins for 8 years. I did the Braves for 3. I hope I can be with the Cubs for a long, long time. It's the most important thing that I do. I like getting a chance to see, the national stuff, because it also gives me an idea of who's good out there, and it gives me a sense of the league. And I do enjoy that.
Well, Boog, we really appreciate you giving us some time today. I'm excited. I know I'm going to see you at CubsCon. Also, you're going to be receiving an award at Tinley Park, the Pitch and Hit Club's award dinner. You're going to be there receiving an award with Andre Dawson. So congratulations on that. And I think there still may be a few tickets if you're interested in going to Tinley Park Sunday night. I don't think anything big's happening, but for all you baseball junkies, the Pitch and Hit Club is just a great group of baseball minds, and congrats on getting that award, Boog.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.
You take care. Thank you. That was Boog Sciambi. We really appreciate him jumping on the Fly the W podcast, and he just does such a great job when he is doing Cubs convention. I just enjoy having it, listening to what he has to say, and he has such a good perspective on baseball. And I like listening to him on the radio. If you ever listen to his ESPN broadcast on the radio, they're really good as well. So should be a lot of fun. But Dustin, that Harry Carey story just always makes me laugh. A young Boog Sciambi and an old Harry Carey, kind of strangers in the night. And you could just,
I have a similar story really quick, Crawly, if you let me share. And I don't know if I told you this one, maybe over a Mick Ultra or a Bud Light or whatever, but the very first time I went to Wrigley Field as an intern at the old WMAQ 670, ironically now 670 is the score. I was in the media washroom, and the first person, when I walked in, it was empty by myself at the urinal, and there are 2 urinals and a stall. And the first person that walked up and went shoulder to shoulder, and it was hot out versus being cold out. It was hot out, and it was Harry, and he's got like always dressed up, slacks, a long sleeve shirt, a cardigan sweater. And I am like in khakis and a polo, and I'm like sweating mayonnaise. And this guy is like cool as a cucumber, just said hello. Wasn't any big thing. Wasn't as good as Boog's story, but just the very first time I'm a young guy, working as an intern, and the first guy I run into of any merit is Harry Carey in the media washroom at Wrigley Field.
Well, I just got to tell you, man, is that Harry Carey. I've talked to John McDonough last year around this time. We talked to John McDonough, who is the creator of Cubs Convention. And the thing that I always kind of, tell people is that there was no fan convention till John McDonough invented it after 1984 and 1985. And I don't know if it gets off the ground and it's still running like it is today without Harry Carey. Harry Carey, the Cubs Convention was made for a guy like Harry Carey. And to be able to, he was the MC, he was everywhere, shaking hands with every single person that you could see. It's a lot different now. Everyone's a lot bigger and more famous, and there's autographs and there's eBay. And sometimes it's hard, to get any time with some of the kind of like the bigger names, but Harry was in his element and loved being around the people. And when you would there was one time at CubsCon, I can't remember who the GM was trying to explain why the team was going to be a winner. Cause that's what you do. You try to pump up the fan base. It's the whole point of CubsCon. And this GM was talking about, about how he thought this was going to be a really good team. And someone in the back heckles, well, what about the pitching? What are you going to do about the pitching? It's Harry. Harry's heckling the GM, but that was Harry. Yeah.
Like you said, in his element, right? He was kind of like the leader of the band, if you will, right?
Well, when you think about it, you are going to have a whole hotel convention, and it used to be the Hilton, which was even bigger than the Sheraton. Okay. It used to be the Hilton, which was bigger than the Sheraton. And it's just a whole bunch of people that do nothing but drink beer and talk baseball. Some of us don't really sleep much at all. I probably, starting Thursday till I go home on Sunday, I'll probably sleep a total of 8 hours. So, I mean, it's just people drinking beer and talking baseball. Tell me that doesn't have Harry Carey written all over it.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah, that sounds pretty, especially if it's a Bud heavy, right? Harry was the red, white, and blue Budweiser guy.
Yeah, this Bud's for you, Dustin Rhodes. And so, I think that for me, when I go to CubsCon, yes, autographs are nice to get. They're great. I love them. I'm not going to pretend like I don't have autographs, as I'm surrounded in my Cubs cave with autographs. I've gotten plenty of autographs at CubsCon over the years, but it's just not that. If you're just going for that, I'm going to probably won't be as happy as you should be. But if you're going to experience everything, and there are people and friends that I've made, again, this is going to be, what did I say, my 26th, 27th straight CubsCon. There's just a moment that you just sit there and you just give people hugs. And when I go to Wrigley Field all the time, you see your friends all the time. They're your baseball friends, right? And then all of a sudden the season ends and it's gone. That part of your life, I still try to, we do the podcast, I'm on social media, but there's that element of being with you, the communal experience of being at Wrigley Field and hanging out with your friends.
Great point.
All that stuff.
Great point. Yep.
That's gone. Ready then, for spring training and pitchers and catchers and all that stuff. And then opening days right around the corner. For those of us that live, breathe, and everything baseball, it's tough to not have any baseball games. You can watch Dominican League and stuff like that. It's fun. I do it. But to just, for me, going back to Wrigley that first time, or catching that very first opening game, maybe it's in some other state, going to CubsCon and think about this. We're going to see Joe Madden and John Lester and John Lackey and Miguel Montero and Pedro Strop and Anthony Rizzo. When's the last time, Dustin, we've seen these guys together like that? I was at, my wife and I went the other day to an 80s cover tribute band, and it was phenomenal. They're called the 1985, but that song Forever Young was done by Alphaville, those music buffs. That was Forever Young was David Ross's walk-up song.
Yes.
That whole year.
You remember that. Yep. Mm-hmm. Very, very good catch. Very good catch.
And there I am watching this band, and all of a sudden they start playing Forever Young, which later on became a Jay-Z, I think redid it or something or not. But oh my God, Dustin, I'm sitting there and I just had like tears in my eyes. It just brought me back to being in the stands in 2016 and David Ross's last game. Joe Madden comes out and everyone thinks they're going to pull John Lester, but in reality, they're pulling David Ross. And in his
really quick, Crawly, really quick on David Ross. Now, they're mixed report. What's the latest on David Ross and CubsCon?
Mixed reports. They are still, here's what happens. And people freak out about this. There are people that are added last minute and there are people that things come up last minute. I know you're going to say what could come up. I don't know. Addison Russell was on the list. He's no longer on the list. I don't know if there was some backlash and they decided not a good idea.
Like, was that a misprint? Did somebody misprint it? Or it's got to be backlash, right? I mean, you want to talk about an item that was not talked about too much.
Right. I would say that, you could potentially say it's Backlash. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there or not. I'm just looking right here at the confirmed attendees, and I do not see Addison Russell on that list. I also do not see David Ross on that list. I do see right here, if I'm looking here, there's Joe Madden is on the list.
But
again,
I wonder if we hear Joe Madden talk at all. Like, is he just introduced and waves, right? Does he get to speak? I mean, does he, do you think Joe Madden, and you've been there enough, and I got a boogie in a minute, Crawly. Does Joe Madden like potentially work the room? Like, would he show up in the lobby bar?
I don't know. It's a great question that we really don't have answers to, because this is the first time Joe's been back since he was let go. I don't think they're going to let him anywhere near a microphone. I think that a lot of the guys are going to be there for opening ceremonies on Friday night. I doubt you're going to see guys like Lackey and Lester on Saturday. They're not in the 2016. They're not doing any autographs from what I've seen so far. I don't know if they're going to do meet and greets. Guys like Lackey, Lester don't like doing autographs. They're very kind of reluctant to do so. So if you're coming down and you need a John Lackey, chances are, unless you are extremely lucky, you probably won't get it. But let's just kind of wait and see what happens. And hopefully, again, I'm just there to have a good time, to see friends, to reminisce, and to talk baseball. And like I said, I'm going to have a couple tears in my eyes a few times this weekend when we're talking about 2016, when we're talking about Rhino. There's going to be a lot of things, a lot of feelings going on, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to stick around and answer any questions that any of our listeners might have. And then we're going to have Waye Messmer, who's got a special story or two about, I think he's been at every CubsCon, Dustin.
Wow. Crawly, have a blast. Everybody make sure to follow Crawly on his social media. There'll be a lot of things to see, and then we'll get back together maybe Monday, but I'm guessing more likely Tuesday. So I think Crawly's going to need a nap.
Thank you, Dustin. Take care. And again, if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the comment section, and I will try to kind of get through everything that I can. I know that some of you on here are veterans. My buddy, Jonathan Evans, he's a guy that loves the autographs just like me. Really fun. I have a lot of fun all the time with John and his family. Just great people that are going to be there. Jeff Berta says, can't wait. I know he's a big CubsCon fan. He is the guy that actually has the Twitter account @CubsFan. And then, of course, my guy, Steve Scher, he is there in Arizona. Steve, I don't know the last time you were out at a CubsCon or if you're at a CubsCon yet, but I've come out to spring training, buddy. I'm expecting you to come out to CubsCon sometime in the near future. Taking a look right here, we got Carlos Linares. Carlos is talking here about he is excited for Friday. And for me, I'm excited for Saturday. And a big reason I'm excited for Saturday is our next guest, the incomparable Waye Messmer. Wayne, sir, how are you doing?
Peace and love. What number is Bregman going to wear?
He is wearing number 3, Wayne. So that is good, because that means Nico gets to keep his number 2. That means he's not going anywhere.
No, that just means he's keeping number 2 for now.
Well, I'm trying to keep it positive, Wayne. I'm trying to get positive vibes. I think about this. I was telling everybody, this is my 26th straight Cubs convention. And you, don't blame Gene, you have yet to call my CubsCon numbers. And now, you tell me, think positive, put the positive vibes in the air. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm letting it flow.
All right, I will say, let's see. I'll go with
writing these down.
With the very popular C4 that a lot of people like. Look at that, you got it. See, there you go.
See, I always, every card I get, I always make sure I got a C4 and a logo 69. Wayne, I am ready. Trust me, I am ready for this. It is such a great moment. And Wayne, you have been doing every single CubsCon, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I've been there since the very beginning. Yeah, since Abner Doubleday, I think, and I rode down to the Hilton, to the Sheraton together, right? Or no,
the Hyatt back in the day, right?
Yeah, I knew it was one of those. Yeah.
Cap Anson was the big free agent, I believe, that year. But
yeah,
The thing that I love, Wayne, and I think that people don't understand, when you say CubsCon bingo, and all of a sudden people just don't know the happiness and the joy it brings so many people. There are just so many things that, little jokes that you were making about C4, and I got Mo Baller Hype Man who says, boom, he knows, we all know. I mean, did you ever in a million years, when you started this in 1985, ever dream that it was going to become the phenomenon that it is now?
The convention or bingo itself?
CubsCon bingo, or both, whatever you feel.
Well, I saw from the beginning that CubsCon was going to be something, and it would be contagious going from year to year. But the bingo, I mean, it truly is an event unto itself. I mean, they could probably charge separate admission just for bingo. The prizes are great. It's fun. The guy who calls, that would be me, doesn't take it too seriously and has a little fun with it. And, as long as first timers don't win as much as anybody else, it just wouldn't be fair.
Not only that, Wayne, don't call a fake bingo. Make sure, double check, get your numbers right, because there is no bigger walk of shame than walking back after calling a false bingo.
And I'm certainly happy to throw several logs on that fire. When somebody walks up and, they're all smug and then you go, no, you didn't win. I mean, not just get out of here, leave the room. It's un-American. It's horrible.
Wayne, Mo Baller says Wayne makes bingo a complete best. You will likely not win, but you'll have a great time. Thanks, Wayne. And that is absolutely true. I am living proof of having a good time and never winning. I am the Susie Lucci of Cubs Convention. And I will tell you, Wayne, all the years of doing bingo, you never know what's going to happen. Something may always happen. You never know. But last year, something special happened. I'm in a table. I'm near the front and center, because I gotta be there. And all of a sudden, you kind of hear some kind of chirping in the back corner. You hear some rustling and some people standing up. And I was thinking at first, maybe it's a fight or something. I'm like, who would fight at CubsCon bingo? It's always the most peaceful, happy place, unless you call it false bingo. But why are people getting up and turning? What in the heck's going on? And so obviously, me being the curious person I am, I start going back there, and I take a look, and out of the back corner is Ryne Sandberg.
Here he comes.
Coming through. He makes his way up, and this is a picture I took. I'm probably about 4 feet from Rhino, and he makes his way through the entire, this is a huge, the whole, the convention floor is gigantic. And he makes his way through there, and people are cheering and clapping and crying and standing up. And he comes onto the stage, and you guys are auctioning a Ryne Sandberg jersey. How did all of this happen? How did Rhino come after all these years? I mean, he only missed a couple when he was the manager for the Phillies. How did he end up at CubsCon bingo, Wayne?
I personally invited him. That's how it happened. We were up in the, I will, and Kathleen will take full witness of this. We're sitting there, and he and Margaret and maybe a grandkid or two were with him, and it was breakfast that day, Saturday, and we're upstairs, and I said, and he said, people keep telling me about this bingo, and I said, Rhino, you gotta come, just stick your head in and take a look, because it's fun, and he said, okay, I'll try to stop by. So I kept my eye out for him. And so the rustling in the back of the room, as you referred to, I saw him coming in, and immediately, I like to stir things up as much as anybody. And so immediately, say, hey, look who just came in around, Rhino, right? So we got that going, and the crowd, as you said, went nuts. And he came all the way around, and it was absolutely impromptu, because he came and sat at a table next to the stage. And I was doing the auction at the time. We do, I guess, 2 breaks or 3, whatever. I think 2 breaks for auctioning between the 20 games of bingo. And a guy leans over and says, we have a Ryan Sandberg jersey signed. And I'm auctioning off some other, thing. And I said, well, give me it. Let's go here. So it was totally impromptu. And, so I hold up the jersey and I look over and I give him the nod and he comes up and not only just stands there, but puts it on and the bidding starts. And it went crazy. I mean, it went absolutely wild. And so we're watching those numbers go up and up and up and up and up until it was $10,000. And there were 2 guys going at it. And one guy said 10,010 or 10,001, some sort, kind of a cheesy thing. And I said, oh, geez. And I turned around and they said, we have a second jersey. Come on. So Rhino took that one off, boom, put the other one on. They were both signed. And I said, okay, second place guy, are you still willing to do that? Yep. So in a matter of just minutes, we had $20,000 that went for the Cubs charities, Cubs Care. And it was a moment, man, I'll never forget it because he was beaming. He just loved it, And then I remember very vividly at his funeral and at the reception afterwards. And his daughter came up to me and she said, that meant the world to him. And I thought, he meant so much to us. And what a sweetheart of a guy. And the fact that I was able to share that really very personal moment with him is something that I will treasure all my life.
Again, I've been to so many CubsCons and like you said, that is ingrained in my head. Is seeing just his face and the cheers, and the crowd was just in an unbelievable ecstasy. Rhino there to cheer him, and the church someone yells out "used." That's when he made some sort of comment about now be up going for more. It was so, but when thank you so glad that you invited him, and I'm agreed. One. Cub fans, I threw out the first pitch, I want to say, an opening day the next year, but it really was one of the last moments that we got to share with Rhino like that. And thank you for Wayne for making that happen. And we really appreciate it. And thank you for all the years of CubsCon. It truly is the highlight of my CubsCon, and everybody knows how much I love CubsCon, but that is my highlight every single year. Even I win, I lose, I don't care. It is truly a magical moment, and it wouldn't be the same without you. You make CubsCon bingo what it is.
Well, I have a ball, and showing up, walking into the room, like a WWE entrance. It's just, I don't know. It's fun. I mean, we don't have opportunities like that in our lives that are frequent enough, and you really have to bask in them. And believe me, all ego aside, I'm humbled by that adoration that people have for the guy who calls bingo. And I think I've told you this before. I was at a game, might have been a couple years ago, and there's 3 or 4 generations of ladies, from grandma to mom to daughter to little granddaughter. And the grandma says, "Oh, I just love the way you say," and she gives me the cheek pinch, And then the mom says, "I used to listen to you when I was in high school, when you were on the radio with Barsky on Z95 doing great. Yeah, that was fun. And then the younger daughter says, "Well, I love going to games, and when you sing, it's really fun." The little girl, who was probably about 8 years old, throughout all of these comments is sitting there with eyes that are just wide open. And I said, "Hi, sweetheart." She said, "You're the bingo guy." So everything else that I may have done in my life paled in comparison to that. So I know how much it means to people, and I wish everybody in the place could win. And maybe this is your year.
If it ever happens, Wayne, I think I'm going to do cartwheels, John Belushi style, all the way to the stage. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've dreamed about it a million times. But Wayne, I appreciate you jumping on. I know you got a busy night. A very happy anniversary to you and your wife, Kathleen. You are two of the just the most amazing people, beautiful people, talented people. And I'm glad that I have you in my life. And thank you for taking a few minutes to jump on, Wayne.
Absolutely. Keep doing the good work, and we'll see you this weekend.
Take care, bud. That was Waye Messmer. He is going to be doing the bingo calling. And again, maybe this is my year. Maybe this is your year. But if you're coming to Cubs convention, please stop by and say hello. I would love to talk to you. And thank you so much for everybody that jumped in. I'm going to be jumping on later with my guy, Danny Rocket, who is encouraging Wayne to keep calling the wrong numbers so I don't win. Because if you know Danny, he just thrives off my pain. Just thank you everybody for jumping on here. It was a lot of fun. And so you can see me, I will be on the Bleacher Bunch show tonight around 8:30. So if you still have a Jones to talk some more CubsCon, I'm going to be on there. Thank you guys so much for paying attention. This is going to be coming out tomorrow night. So share it with your friends. If people are asking, hey, where do I get the CubsCon info? Let them know you got to fly the W. Go Cubs!
It's all over.